Sports development in Nigeria gets our attention now, particularly athletics and the High Performance Center. After a disastrous outing at the London 2012 Olympics, the then Minister of Sports, Bolaji Abdullahi, appointed Angie Taylor and Eric Campbell as directors of the High Performance Center. Angie Taylor is standing by in Abuja studio to talk to us about that center and how we can use it to produce future champions. Let's go over to Abuja now. Good morning, Angie, and welcome to the program. Okay,
good morning,
good to have you. You look like an athlete that is just getting ready, gearing up to hit the tracks and win gold medals. Let's talk about the High Performance Center. What's the role of that center?
The role of the center is basically, it's supposed to be all year round. So it's not just to have athletes come just to start camping and training for specific competitions, but it's where we identify athletes, we bring them in, and we bring in coaches as well. And we're working with the coaches and the athletes all through the year. So in Abuja, we have the Athletes Hostel that has been set up, and that was opened up in April of last year, and we actually started using it during the All-African Games for the first time. And so during that system for the All-African Games, we utilized the Athletes Hostel. We had the athletes in our possession. We worked with the coaches and the athletes. This year, what we're doing, we started officially May the 29th when we brought in our athletes into the Athletes Hostel in Abuja. So we're utilizing now the sports science and performance analysis that we're doing right now. So we go to the training, we're working with the coaches and the athletes, we're doing some video analysis and breaking down their training and showing them how there are perhaps mistakes made in their training, how to correct these mistakes. And we use the video analysis also to break down the athletes' opponents so that they can see how they can counteract in terms of the wrestling and see how, in terms of athletics, how we can get their technique better, and particularly in the field events, particularly in the women's long jump and in the hurdles. So we're here, and once we have the athletes in our possession, that's where we actually are able to do our best. Our athletes were utilized, like I said, in the High Performance Center last year for the All-African Games. We have other people that work with us in high performance, not just Eric Campbell and myself, but we also have other coaches that are in athletics. We have coaches in boxing. We have a performance coach in taekwondo, and we also have some other coaches and other people that are working with us. So it's just not Eric Campbell and myself.
Okay, I mean, you are the national director, of course, of athletics, boxing, and everything and all that. Being the national director, now how many athletes do we have right now in the Abuja camp?
Right now, we have in the Abuja camp, we have, because we have our para-athletes with us as well. So we have para-athletics and we have our power lifters with us in the Abuja camp as well, preparing for the Paralympics that will start in September. So overall, we have 64 athletes that have qualified for the Olympic Games, and not including the para-athletes. So we have, some of these athletes, of course, are training in the U.S., but the athletics will host their national trials this actually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So those athletes actually started arriving into Lagos yesterday, and they'll be moved to Supple, where the championships will be held. But we've been working with at least over 80 athletes within the Abuja training system.
Okay, is it over 80 athletes? Now, at some of the federation, we're actually saying that it's really not helping some of these athletes, especially in relation to conditioning and every other thing. They still have to, like, take a look at the athletes and also train them more. Is it really working?
We would, like I said in the beginning, the high performance system is supposed to be something that is all year round. So it becomes very difficult if we're not able to have them in our possession all the time. And it's not just like coaching. It's actually to try to help provide the best practices for our athletes, you know, utilizing more of the science. It's not just the training, so it's actually putting them in a situation where they're able to have the most support that they can. And that entails, you know, proper living and housing, nutrition, science. It includes the psychological aspect of preparing our athletes. It's having them in the system also, so when there is a competition, that they can go and compete in that competition, and providing them with a stress-free environment is really what we're here to try to provide them with and to do. I know that we've been facing lots of challenges, so to offset some of those things, we try to incorporate some other things like team bonding and team activities. On Sunday, we actually had an event for the athletes to kind of, because they don't train on Sundays, to try to get their minds ready and prepare for Rio. So it's a system that has had challenges, but when you see other countries as small as Jamaica, they have a high-performance system, and it works very well, and that's why we see the likes of people like Usain Bolt. In Abuja, we have some athletes that we've identified. Essay Brume was identified in 2013, and she ended up winning the women's long jump at the Commonwealth Games. She's an athlete that we have in the center right now, and her coach, and we're working with her. She's jumped 683 in the long jump, and we know that what she would need to do to get onto the podium is to be in that 7-meter range, and so that's where we're bringing in the science, and we're utilizing the video analysis to get her to that 7-meter mark so that we can have some success in Rio.
Okay, Angie, can you tell us on some of those challenges you faced since the High Performance Center was opened 2 years ago?
Well, what we were told when we were coming in is that that we would be coming into a system or a place where we would have our athletes hostel, because we need to be able to house the athletes, which we have that now. But the actual lab and the science laboratory, we have not completed yet. And that's where we can do our analysis, a lot more of our science. You know, we can test our athletes to see if they're deficient in certain aspects of, do they need more iron, do they need, you know, more of this. And so that is very, very critical as a part of a high performance center. We need to have the video analysis capabilities, so that when we're video the athletes, then we can have a place where we can break down the video and have a system, and where the athletes and the coaches can see. We need to do more of our you know, our clinics and more of our preparations, so that we can help our coaches to be more effective in their training. And so, because sometimes, you know, our coaches think we just train, but it's a lot more to it than just training. We need to know the recovery aspect of it as well. We need to utilize more of our medical, in terms of our physio, in terms of our masseurs, in terms of different things like that. So we've had challenges in that respect, that we know that what we need to fully make things workable, and we haven't had an opportunity to actually set up all of those things. But what we have been able to do is just manage what we can, what the resources and stuff that we have. But there's so much more that we know that we can do to make this system functional. There's also a component where if we have young athletes that we have identified, you know, we want them to be able to continue their education, so we need to have a school component added into the high performance for those athletes that are still young and growing. You know, sometimes I cross over. I work also with basketball, and we have a young lady that has now an opportunity to go to the U.S. and go to school. She's getting a scholarship. And so I'd like to do more of those things as well. We want to keep the athletes here in the country, in Abuja, but if it's not set up quite like we want it to be, then we do also try to provide opportunities for these athletes not to be lost.
Okay, and now, you talked about the fact that you're lacking some facilities in the one in Abuja. There's one in Port Harcourt that we know that is world-class, is standard, you know, recognized by IWF and all that. Talking athletes from Gambia and some other countries usually come in to train. Can't we use that for these athletes you're talking about?
We actually have done that in the past, and although it is IAAF approved, it still has some work that needs to be done as well. We've actually had athletes, and particularly in athletics, stay there, and then we actually, we ran into some challenges there, so we actually brought them in then to Abuja. So it's the center in Port Harcourt is set up, but there is still work that needs to be done to complete that, to make it functional as well.
Things that is actually needed to be done, because everyone is kind of praising the facilities that is one of the best you have in Africa, or even in West Africa. They have a hostel as well. They're utilizing the university's facilities, and they are fine facilities. But if we really want to make it for our national, and that's where, I guess that's where it's supposed to be in Abuja, we have the national stadium where they can utilize the track. We have the gym and the package B. We have so it's supposed to be a situation where you walk or you go straight from the athlete's hostel. You have the medical right there available. You have your facilities right there available. You have your performance training, like your weight training, available. So that is what we really need. We need a total package. So we need the housing, we need the facilities, we need the medical, and then we need the weight training. And so I guess I could say neither one of the areas have the total package, but in Abuja, we actually have the medical because it's right next to the athlete's hostel. We have the facilities where it's right across the street from the athlete's hostel and the medical. So so it's a little bit more centrally located for all of the facilities, so that you just go from one venue to the next, and you actually don't have to drive anywhere. You just walk to everything.
Angie, thank you so much for speaking to us. I agree with you that it's a total package, and please, let's get it done. Thank you.